Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 85. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And as always, I just want to start by thanking you for sharing your time with me. Time truly is our most valuable asset. And the fact that you're willing to share your time with me truly does mean a great deal. So today, I'm going to talk to you about some numbers. Now, I know for a lot of us who are entrepreneurs, statistics and numbers kind of are not our jam, yet this is really important for you to hear. You know, it's fascinating. I was introduced to this concept, much like a lot of you, many, many years ago. And the thought is you become the sum of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. Now, I've heard that over and over, and I can attest that it is true, that you do get heavily influenced by the people that you invest your time with. That's why I'm always so grateful that you're here investing it with me. And what I love is a recent article I read from the Kellogg School of Management. And in this article, they talked about the impact that high performers versus low performers can have on you. And this is what is truly, truly interesting. They discovered that if you sit within 25 feet of a high performer, your performance is likely to go up by 15%. Because of your proximity to the high performer. Let me say that again, because this is really, really fascinating to me. If I am within 25 feet of a high performer, I have the opportunity for my performance to increase up to 15% solely based on the proximity to a high performer. That number blew my mind. Yes, I believe people when they said, you become the sum of the 5 you spend the most amount of time with. However, to know that it can have an impact of up to 50% of my 15% in my performance just by proximity to them is just mind-boggling to me. Now, conversely, this is equally as important. If I am within 25 feet of a low performer, my performance can be impacted in a negative direction. It can go down by up to 30%. And I had to sit with that for a minute and I thought, okay, low performance has a bigger impact than high performance. I would think it would be opposite, right? Yet when I really dug in and started reflecting on what I know to be true, so I looked at the Kellogg School of Management report and I thought about what we know and what we've talked about. I've shared with you over and over and over, right, that as humans, we tend to have more negative experiences in our life than positive. For example, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are negative. 95% are repetitive. So it only makes sense that that negative or that low performance vibration can be absorbed at a greater level than the high performance. If you think about it just strictly from 80% of our thoughts being negative, 20% being positive. So I just find this absolutely fascinating. And this made everything that I have known and just trusted and experienced about spending time with the right 5 people in my life and that impact that it could make in my life and in my business. And so having the numbers from a credible source like Kellogg School of Management really kind of excited me. And I don't normally get too excited about statistics. However, this one's a good one. Now, why do we think this happens? Let's just take a walk through the why. For us being around high performers, right, and with the potential for that to increase our performance by 15%, typically high performers in this study it was determined that they had a strong work ethic, that they had high motivation and keen focus. So work ethic, motivation, and focus. Their positive energy from being in a high performance state can 1000% inspire those around them to want to be better, to want to perform at a higher level. Influence and manifestation is another reason why our performance can go up when we're around other high performers. The influence of it to me is really through mindset and possibility. I've always said this. I don't like comparison for the putting down of they're better than me. But what I do love about comparison is when you see that it's possible by viewing somebody else's success. So surrounding yourself by high performers, you start to see that there's a possibility of higher performance than what you're doing. It cracks open the door for greatness in you. So I believe that is why what Kellogg has found out is when you're in proximity to high performers, all of that is spilling over. Now, if you've chosen or you haven't been aware of it till now, and you're spending time around low performers, low energy, low influence, the study showed that low performers typically are more complacent. They've got lower standards. Now, I'm going to make this clear. This is not judging. These are just facts. Their expectations are lower. Their standards of excellence are lower in one lane or the other, whether it's in their professional environment or their personal space. They tend to have a bit more of a negative energy than a high performer. And I think that's for obvious reasons, right? If we're performing at a lower level, our energy might be a little bit more negative or significantly lower. Some describe it as potentially low performers are mediocre. It's like, it's not good. It's not bad. It's kind of getting by. I laugh about that, about low performers. If you hung around with me in college, I was in the low performance section. And for me, mediocre was, hey, if I got a D, it was passing, it was okay. So I can see how low performers might be in a space of being more mediocre. And then also, it can create a toxic environment by being around lower performers over time. And you think about it, I think that's just natural, right? You're in a space of not hitting goals. You're in a space of being just good enough or don't really measure good or bad, just do what you need to do to get by. That environment can become toxic to people and it can pull you down. So remember, high performers can increase your performance by 15% when you're within 25 feet of them. Low performers within 25 feet can pull you down by up to 30%. The other element is what I love is I looked at some social proof, right? And they just took a look at high performers. High performers in this study had clear visions. And because their vision was clear, they can influence and inspire. Again, I go back to that comparison thing. If I'm surrounded by somebody that has a clear vision and knows where they're going, is so congruent with it and so confident in that, that can inspire me to get clearer on my vision, to get clearer on my future, and to become stronger, therefore increasing my performance. Low performers tended to not have such clear visions. Their vision was maybe more full of limiting beliefs of what was not possible. They were not clear on their future. Remember, mediocre. They were willing to accept whatever came their way. Well, that must just be the way it is. That must just be who it is for me. They lacked that vision. They lacked being able to influence and inspire because they were just kind of rolling with the punches, taking whatever came their way. That, to me, is, I believe, sometimes what happens when we do fall into the belief that all of the external circumstances that we're exposed to are creating our success, are impacting our performance as humans and as business people. And so low performers tend to stay in that space. The other area that was looked at, which is really fascinating, is focus and distractions. High performers, as you can imagine, had high focus and concentration. They were dedicated to their success. And this is really important. We talk about, like you talk about Pareto principle, 80-20%, right? 20% of what you do will create 80% of your success or your results. And I think about this from a focus perspective. They're focused on their non-negotiables. High performers know exactly what must be done in order to achieve goal. They are focused on it and they are phenomenal at their dedication to success and their ability to concentrate on the key activities and strategies that are moving them forward. So they're really good at focusing on that 20%. That is what allows somebody to perform at a higher level. I get asked this often as a coach and as a coach to some really amazing real estate people out there. What is it about the clients that I coach that makes seven figures that makes them different? And I will tell you, this is it. This is what makes them different. It's nothing really, there's no big secret. Like there's no specific, they do this with database, they do this with networking. There's no secret in it. What they do though, is they have a high focus, concentration, and eliminate distractions. That's what allows them to be high performers. The other thing is what I love about high performing people. And I've discovered this in my group that I have the privilege of hanging out with here on a personal level where I live and also in my workspace, is always talking about their future. High performing people are excited about what their future is. They're not just rolling with the punches and taking whatever shows up. They are constantly talking about the future. What next phenomenal thing they're going to do in their business career, or what next amazing experience they're going to create for their friends, their family, what they're going to be doing next. The conversation is always very uplifting and it is future focused. Low performers tend to spend time about talking about what has happened in the past. They spend more time talking about the past because they are not future thinkers. They are not focused. They're not dedicated to their success. So they only really have things to talk about in terms of what has happened to them along the way. What I've noticed about low performers, in addition to talking about the past, is that they have very distracting behaviors. And talking about the past, to me, is a distracting behavior. But they have very distracting behaviors. Shiny object syndrome runs rampant for low performers because they're looking a lot of times, and again, this is not judgmental, this is just what I've observed. Low performers are looking for the quick hit, the quick fix. And so they are distracted by other people's success or by what other people are doing. They are also distracted easily from task at hand because remember, they don't have a huge focus. They don't have a huge future vision. So they are distracted by creating distractions. I'm going to go have a conversation with John. I haven't talked to John in a while. Now's a good time for me to go do that. Or I better hop on social media and just check that out because, somebody might have posted or liked one of my posts. They live in a world of distractions, a world of distracting behavior. That can come in their personal life, that can be in their business life. A distracting behavior is if you're on a health journey and you've decided to opt for very unhealthy eating for the next week. That's a distracting behavior. Where a high performer who's focused on the future is going to look at the impact of what I do today on what it has on my future. Low performers not really looking at that. They're just looking in the moment and they allow those distractions to influence their success. And it will clearly influence your performance when you are within 25 feet of them. The other thing that I want us to think about, and this is my wheelhouse, is mindset. That's the fourth thing about when you're looking and comparing high performers and low performers is high performers, this is not surprising, should not be surprising at all, have a growth mindset. They're always learning and they're sharing. They're not holding the information within because if I share what worked for me and what made me successful with you, you might be more successful than me. That's not how high performers show up. They show up in wanting to be learning and sharing. So this is, in my world, when I've really started doing this before I knew the statistics, and now it excites me even more, I am in a constant growth mindset. As a coach, I think it just comes second nature to me that, you're always looking for ways to improve, looking for ways to get to goal and way to experience success. And part of what I've done in terms of creating my group of people that I spend the most amount of time with is I have a group of high performing coaches that I have the privilege of spending an hour with every other week. And in this group, we do exactly this. We are constantly sharing, helping, and supporting. And, we're all, I'm in a program about this. Somebody else is in a program about social media marketing. Somebody else is in a program about mindset and beliefs. We all have different coaches. None of us share the same coach. And so we're bringing a lot to the table. And we're willing to share because we want each other to succeed. There's nothing more exciting than all of us moving forward. That's what we consider a win. When we're all able to move forward, if there's somebody who's struggling, we all gather and we want to share and we want to help. And so mindset is huge, and that your mindset is impacted by who you're spending time with. If you're spending time with growth mindset people, you're around high performing people. Now, low performing, more of a fixed mindset, more of a protect or avoid risk mindset. There's a greater fear of failure. So I'm just going to not do anything different. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and accept what's coming my way. Because remember, low performers are not incredibly focused on the future. They're more focused on today and the right now and the past. So it's not surprising that low performance folks are fixed mindset. Unlike high performing who want to share and things that can make people successful, low performing tend to share danger. I want to share with you what could happen. Oh my gosh, this happened to me. It was terrible. It affected my success, blah, 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 blah. And they share that. So when you're around a group of low performers with fixed mindset and who are sharing the dangers, it's of course going to have an impact on you, because then you start, your low primitive brain wants to go into protect mode and keep you from experiencing those dangers. So it will do a phenomenal job of keeping you stagnant, of keeping you in a space of no growth. So that is the difference between low and high performers when it comes to mindset. So this to me was just a brilliant study done to help put numbers and facts against what we know to be true. You become the sum of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. I think some of you have heard this, and this is what I have put into practice really over the last 10 years, is I look at the 5 people that I spend the most of the time with as the people who are on my front row. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, just imagine if you were giving a presentation and you were on stage to a full auditorium of thousands of people, but you had your 5 people sitting in your front row. Those 5 people are going to be encouraging. Those 5 people are going to be sharing. Those 5 people are going to be cheering you on, not heckling. Those are the people that want goodness for you as much as you want it for yourself in them. So I'm going to ask you to do a little inventory. And I want to make this crystal clear. There is no judgment about high performance versus low performance. There's no judgment at all. It's a choice that you get to make, because if you have a desire to be a high performing person, according to the statistics, if you surround yourself with them within 25 feet proximity, your success is going to go up by 15%. If you're around low performing, you're going to most likely decrease your performance by up to 30%. So take a moment. I had to wrap my brain around the fact that things were going to change a little, that I was going to become a little bit more selfish, and I shouldn't say selfish, more guarded and protected with my time and the people that I invested my time with. Doesn't mean that I X'd people out of my life because they're low performers. There's low performers that I absolutely love and are still part of my life. They're just not my front row. They're not people that I invest time with on the regular. I invest time with them because they're important to me, just not as often as I used to. And what I've noticed for myself is my performance and my success has gone up. I know this for me. I'm very blessed that the group of people that I have surrounded myself with in my hometown are high performance people. They either had incredible careers and are in a consulting position or even a retired position, if you will, yet they still have a growth mindset. They're excited to learn things. They're excited to participate and share. And the really cool thing about the group that I have the pleasure of calling my friends and the group of coaches that I have the pleasure of calling my peers is we are great connectors. We are great connectors. One of my dear friends, Suzanne, here in Santa Fe, is probably the best connector, period. I cannot tell you the countless times we've been talking about something and she's like, hey, I know someone that did what you want to do and they did it on a really high level. I'm going to introduce the two of you. And she's done that several times, and it has made a huge difference, not only in my personal life, but in my professional life. She recently connected me with somebody because of a project that I'm working on that has made the biggest difference because they are high performers. And so now I get to be with that high performer in this area of what I'm working on, and it has escalated my success exponentially. So I'm not saying go eliminate everybody from your life that's a low performer. That is not what this is about. This is about making a commitment to yourself and your career, to yourself and to your business, that if you want to grow and move up in your performance and be considered a high performer, you need to be within 25 feet proximity of other high performers. It's the secret. It's just how it works. What is the saying? What you focus on expands, right? And your cells eavesdrop on the conversations. Those two things to me are the best examples of why we want to be around people that we are striving to be more like. I don't want to be a low performer. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Hey, if you're good with just taking life as it comes and taking some wins and losses as they come, that is 1000% okay. That is not how I am wired as a human being, as a business owner. So to me, this just made common sense to spend my time with high performing people. Now I've got the statistics to prove why it works. Do an inventory, reallocate your time. That's really what you need to do to put yourself in a position of experiencing something different. I have become very protective of my time and spend 90% of my time with high performing human beings. Has it made a difference? Unmeasurable. Do I think it's more than 15%? Yes. For me, I do. For me, I think it's way more than 15% because I have stair-stepped so much quicker by being around other high-performing individuals, just from a networking perspective, just from a learning from others who have been there before me and helping me see a different and a clearer path. So it can be that way for you as well. If you find yourself in your space, whether it's your work environment, your home environment, whatever it is, that you're spending more time with people who are complaining, creating a toxic environment, who are mediocre in how they show up, and that is not how you want to show up in life, you have the ability to make the decision to change it. It will change everything for you. So I'm going to ask you to do an inventory over the next couple of weeks. When you spend time with people, are you getting energy? Are they taking energy? Are they someone talking about their future? Somebody talking about the past? Are they a toxic? Is it a toxic space or a positive space? Just start looking at all the things. Are they growth or fixed mindset? And start positioning people into different groups and to reallocate your time to the different groups that you're going to spend time with. It will make a difference. As always, team, if you've got a question about this or anything else, you can always reach out to me directly. Tony@rethinkcoaching.com is my email address. It comes directly to me. I don't have somebody reading my emails. It'll come directly to me. You can go to our website, rethinkcoaching.com. There is a pop-up box where you can give me your information and you register for a free 1-hour strategy call with me. That is a link to my calendar. And I will talk to you about this or anything else that you might be struggling with. You can find me on all of the socials, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok for now. We'll see what happens there. But I'm pretty easy to find. Please feel free to reach out. I'm always here to help you. That's one of my core values in business, is to help as many people as I can. So if you're struggling, you're stuck, or you got a question about this or anything else, there's no reason to be stuck. Just please reach out. All right, team, go make it a great week. High performer, 25 feet up to 15% improvement. Holy cow. Talk to you soon. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.